This video is to go with activity 4.5, Cams in Motion. And in this video, I'll show you how to create the 4 different types of cams that we'll be using in this activity. So if I go to the specifications for the 4 cams, you'll see we get the eccentric cam, which is just a circle with an offset axle. I have the pear-shaped cam, where the axle is at the center point, and it's obviously pear-shaped. The snail cam looks like a snail shell. And then the regular hexagon cam. It's called the regular because all 6 sides and all 6 angles are equal. So I'll start off with the eccentric cam because it's the easiest one to make, and we'll talk about how to input your planes into that as well so that we can attach it to the Automata simulator. So let's start with the eccentric cam. I'm going to open up Autodesk Inventor, start a new file. We're going to use a standard IPT, which is a part file, and hit create. I'm going to go to the Start 2D Sketch button, and I'm going to create my sketch on the XY plane. Again, I'm going to start with a circle. It's really helpful to put the center of your circle for this right at the XY coordinate, 0, 0, or origin. Left click, I'm going to drag it out, and again you put in your diameter that you need. For me that's 2 inches, and hit enter. So that's my circle for my cam, so I'm just going to hit finish, extrude that 3/16 of an inch. Neat thing with Autodesk is it does the math for you. I don't have to calculate what 3/16 is. I can just hit 3/16. You'll note that I could do that in this dialog box or this one down here. I could enter that by hitting OK, or the OK here, or just hitting the enter button. Now I have my disc that is 2 inches in diameter and 3/16 of an inch thick. The next thing I need to do is place that axle. So I'm going to left click on my face and hit create sketch again. Now I could use the circle tool to create a circle right here, and then use the extrude tool to put a hole in it. But in this case here, instead I'm going to put a point, and I'll show you why we'll do that in a second. That point is going to go right on that y-axis, which is really helpful. And I'm not going to try and move around to hit that 5 perfectly. All I need to do is place it somewhere on that axis. And then I could use my dimension button right up here. In dimension, start at origin with a left click, go down to my new point with a left click, and go out to the side and type in 0.5. It's important to note that you don't have to go in and put 0.5, 000, whatever tolerance level you set, Autodesk will automatically set it to that. So if I just hit 5, you'll see how it defaults right to 0.5000 or 00. I'm done. I got my point identified, so I'm going to hit finish sketch. Now in this view, you can see where my new point is right there. If I hover over it, it'll come up and say point. So that allows me now to use this tool right here, which is the Smart Hole tool. Clicking on that hole tool, you can see where I can create a variety of holes depending on what my need is. I could use it to make a countersink right here. I could do a spot face, and I could do a counterbore or a simple drill all the way through type hole, which is what I want to use for this case. I can use this now to set the diameter of my hole, which in this I want to do 3/16 of an inch. And how deep I want to do it, just like you do an extrude tool, you can do it set by a distance and put that distance in there. I can put an offset angle for my drill point, but in this case here I just want to do it through all. And then I'm going to hit OK. There's your eccentric cam, right? I've got the, let's go to the front view of that real quick. Looks just like my diagram, a hole and an offset. I can put that measurement in there and tell you exactly where the center to center is, but we already know that. So this is done. Make sure you save your work in here. Hit File, Save As, and then give it a name. In this case here you could do eccentric cam or whatever. The other thing you want to do is add 3 work planes into this to allow you to merge this with the Automata simulator. And this is going to work the same for all 4 of these cam types. So I'm only going to show you how to do this with the one. First thing I need to do is a plane that goes through the middle, just like I was to slice this right down the middle on this 3/16 side. So the way I do that, I'm going to use the plane feature right here. I'm going to use this pull down arrow, and I'm going to go to mid plane between 2 planes. Select that. So what that does is I'm going to select 2 planes, and it's going to create a 3rd plane that's right in the middle of the 2. Well, that's perfect for me. I've got 2 planes that I can easily identify. One is the front face. I'm going to go to the back side over here, select the back face, and there you go. There's Autodesk has automatically created my work plane for me, dividing this directly in half, just like slicing bread. And if you see over here on the left side in my browser, it shows me the work plane 1. So I can left click on that twice or slowly and rename that to mid plane. And you can see where that name is now shown there. The other thing I need is an axis going through this circle in here. So I could go to this button right here, pull down is the axis button. And I could do that. I want that to go right through the center of a circular or elliptical edge because I've got a circle down there. It's perfect. And I need that to go right through the center. This is where my axle is going to go. So I'm going to click on the edge of that, and you can see barely where that axle is right there, that work axis. I could drag that out just a little bit to make that a little easier to use. And again, that is the work axis 1. I'm going to change that to axle, and I'm good. Finally, I need to create a angle plane so that I can rotate my object. And so to creating that one, I'm going to use this file over here in the browser. It says origin. If I left click on that arrow in there, you can see these are all of the different planes that default in here. Your XY plane, your YZ plane, and you'll note that XY, these go from that original sketch, that 2D sketch that we started with. You can see, well, that's your XY plane right here. That's that XY plane where we created that very first circle. So for this case here, I need to create a work plane that's going to go right through the center of my axle hole. And so I'm going to make this visible so I can work with it and go ahead and hit visibility like that. So I have that YZ plane visible now, but that's not the one that I want to use for this purpose. I want to create a new plane that's pretty much parallel to this that goes right through this axis. So if I looked at my plane tool here, I looked down and I could see that I could do parallel to a plane and through a point. That looks like it's something I could use. But I need to put a point in there first for that to work. It won't work on the axis. So what I'm going to do is go to the point tool, put in a point here that is the center point of a loop of edges. So I have this circle right in here. So if I click on this one, I can create a point that's right in the center of that circle. Identify that, and you can see where the X is. That's where my point's going to go. So I'm going to left click, and I'm right on the edge of that inner circle there. And that's my work point 2 right there. You can see where it's highlighted in yellow in the middle. Now I can go do my plane parallel to a plane through a point. That's going to go through this this YZ plane and then through that work point. And I could actually just highlight it right here on my browser tool as well. It's a little easier to, if you can't quite hit it, you can click it right there. And there's my work plane. And I can change the size of that a little bit to make it, again, easier to work with. And that is work plane 2. So we're going to call that the angle plane. If I turn my view to the front here, you can see where that plane is now going right through the center, and you can see where that axle is right there and that axle point that we put in. So this is everything I need now to be able to mount this in the Automata Simulator. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save again, file, save as, and call that eccentric. For me, I've done a couple of these, so we're going to call that one eccentric 2. All right, so the next one of these that I'm going to build is the hex cam. The hex cam is also really simple to create. In fact, it's even easier, I think, than the eccentric cam. It's just a simple regular hexagon with the axle going right through the middle of it. And Autodesk makes this really easy to create. So I'm going to go into a new standard folder and create a new part, starting my sketch in the XY plane. And I'm going to insert here a regular polygon with 6 sides, or a hexagon. And to do that, we've used this rectangle tool to make rectangles, but this time I'm going to use that pull down arrow down below here. And you can see there's actually a number of different types of shapes that I can create in this tool. And there I'm going to go down to the very bottom where it says polygon and left click. The polygon tool allows me to create a regular polygon shape up to 120 sides. And so in this case here, I'm going to use a 6 side because that's what a hexagon is. And the first left click I'm going to hit puts it the center point of my hexagon, which is great because I want that to be at 0, 0. So I'm going to left click and I just drag my mouse up. I'm not holding the button down. I have my finger off the button, and I can just rotate this to where I want it. According to my picture, I've got the point going off to the side, I believe. So let's just do it to match that the best we can. I'm going to drag that over, and it doesn't really matter where I put this thing for now because I could always change that with my dimension tool in a second. So I'm going to left click. As long as I'm on the x-axis this time, I'm good to go. So yeah, there it goes. So this diameter here, the distance from the center to the edge is 1/2 d, which is a radius, of course. D is my nominal diameter, and for me that's 2 inches, so 1/2 d is going to be 1 inch. So I'm going to use my dimension tool, select the center and the edge, and let's just make that 1. And there is my hexagon, looking good. So I'm going to hit finish sketch, and again we're going to extrude that 3/16 of an inch. So far so good. I know all I have to do is put that axle hole back in there. So I'm going to left click, new sketch, and let's put that point in there the same way we did before. This one's easier. I don't have to even measure it out. It goes right in the center. And finish. There's that new point. Use the hole, 3/16. Make sure it has through all, and then hit OK. There's your hex cam. Again, you can put those work planes in there the same way we did with the eccentric cam, but I'm not going to rehash that now. You can do that. All right, make sure you save it, please. Save your work, file, save as, etc. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm not saving mine. I'm going to go to new and let's create a new object. And again, this time we're going to do the pair cam. All right, now these get a little bit trickier, but they're really not that hard to do. Let's take a look at the pair cam for a second. This is my center point in here, so let's call that origin, and I have a 3/16 inch hole there. We know how to create those. This bottom radius here is going to be 1/2 d, so which means that this bottom circle is really just one of my nominal diameters in here, so that's going to be 2 inches. And this is just another hole with the center right here at radius 1/4 d. So basically what I have is a circle here that's 1 inch or 2 inches, and I have another circle that's going to sit right on top of it right here that is 1 inch in diameter. From there I'm just going to use some tangent lines to connect these two together and then put my hole back in there. So let's go ahead and get into Autodesk and do that. All right, like I said, I already created a part folder. Let's go to new XY plane. And again, I have 2 circles. So let's start with the first circle. It is going to be 2 inches. And the second circle is going to sit right on top, and it's going to have a diameter of 1 inch. All right, now I need to hit the escape button so these things don't keep creating circles. Otherwise, if I left click it, will create another circle. Now I'm going to add some lines in here and some tangent lines to it. Before I do that, I want to lock these two circles in with each other using a vertical constraint. That way they won't move around when I start applying other constraints. So I'm going to go up here and use the vertical constraint tool. And I'm going to hit the center point of this circle and the center point of this circle. And that now constrains these two. If I move one of them, the other one's going to move with it. So now all I need to do is just go to the line tool, and I'm just going to create two lines. And these two lines don't even have to be touching my original spot. Now, the problem with the line tool that I sometimes is annoying like this here is I can't just go over here and create a new one. It's going to put a line going from the last one contiguously. So I'm just going to hit escape, click the line tool again, and put my second line over here. And again, it doesn't even matter if it touches, and escape. What I'm going to do now is constrain the line with the two circles by using the tangent tool. The tangent tool just creates a tangent point. It takes the straight line and it has it touch the circle. Remember, tangent touches the circle in only one place. So we'll hit the tangent constraint, start with the line in the top one, and you'll see where it moved that line over. Let's do the line again in the second one. And by locking the two circles in now, by doing that, it moved the line around and left the circles stationary. Let's do the same thing on the other side. And here. And it doesn't matter where on that circle I do it, it's going to create that point of tangency for me and adjust it as I need to. And you can see where my little tangent constraints are shown here. Once I hit escape and get out of this, those will disappear. Well, I'm almost there. All I need to do now is just trim up this excess material. Sometimes if you have this line and it's offset a little bit, it didn't quite connect like this, it'll let you do that. Instead of using the trim tool here, we could use the extend tool. And what that would do is, so I click on extend and I click on this line, it's going to go to the next object. And so sometimes if you create this thing and your object doesn't extrude properly, try using the extend tool on your line, and that might fix the problem for you. So let's go ahead and go to trim and take off all this excess. What it does is anything that's hanging off the edge, it's going to delete it all the way up until it makes the point of contact with the next object. So the trim tool is really a great feature. And I don't need this stuff on the inside of this circle either, so let's get rid of that and that. And all of that extra bit. So now you can see your pear-shaped cam. So I'm going to hit Finish Sketch, and I can extrude this now. Again, that's 3/16, and there's your pear cam shape. All right, I need to put the hole in again, so I'm left-clicking on my face, Create Sketch, putting my point in. Again, I can do that right at the axis. Finish, hole, 3/16. Through all, and OK. There's your pear-shaped cam. The last one we need to create is the snail cam. And that one is the one that looks a little bit like it's going to be the most difficult of the bunch of these things, but it actually isn't too difficult. All right, so let's close this out. Now, please don't do this. I want you to save yours, but I'm just going to delete it because I've got a dozen of these already created. There's another shortcut tool you could use up here to go to a new object. And it's going to, again, it's the same thing as going here to the new. I want to create a new part. Start sketch in the XY plane again. Okay, and then for the snail cam is really pretty easy to create as well. And I'll show you where, instead of doing two circles on top of each other, what I'm going to do is two concentric circles to start with. So I'm going to start with a circle of 1 inch and another one that is my full diameter of 2 inches. And we're finished. Okay, so I'm done with that, so I'm going to hit escape. And let's make sure that all fits in there. So I've got the two circles. This inner circle here is going to define this inner part right about here. And then this diameter, if you look at the distance in here, it's 1/2 d, or 1 radius, which means for the distance from here all the way down is going to be 1 whole diameter. And then this distance here is 1/4 diameter. And so in my case here, that's 0.5 inches. And so if I were to measure that distance in here, since from here to here is 0.5, and from here to here is going to be 0.5 also. So I have my dimensions built in. Primarily, this inner circle really is just a construction line, if you will. In fact, let's go ahead and make that a construction line. I'll highlight that, and I'm going to hit this button right here as the construction button. And it turns that object, you see where the dashes are now, it turns that into a construction line. All right, I'm going to click away from it because I don't want that to be a construction line. Now, the next thing I need to do is put a straight line in from here up to this point here. And so we're going to make that a straight line and connecting there. And I'm done with my line, so hit escape. And again, that is this straight line that we created right there. Now I need to put that curve in, this part in here. And this is the part that can look like it's a little tricky to start with, but it's really not. We're going to use that arc tool. I'm going to start my arc right at that point, right where my construction line is. I'm going to go straight down to the bottom of my circle. And then I'm going to go up and to the left. Now this is the part where you don't have to really worry too much about this. Just make sure you're in this area here somewhere between the two circles and just left click. And I'll show you why in a second. Let's hit escape, and there's your arc. Now I need this arc to touch this outer circle here at just one point. So again, I'm going to use that same tangent tool and identify that arc and this arc. And it looks like I've already got it in place. That's okay if you see this, that's good, it's already there. If it's not, when you do that, it'll just click for you. So good, I've already got that constraint. That means that I put when I move this over, I put it in exactly the right spot. So that's good. All right, now I'm going to go back to that trim tool and get rid of the excess material that I don't need. So I'm going to trim away this outer circle portion. And there's your snail cam right there. Let's finish the sketch. Let's extrude. Again, that's going out 3/16 of an inch. And there we are. Let's look at that front face of that thing. So there's your snail cam right there. Let's put the hole in with left click. Put the point going right in the center. Smart hole, 3/16 of an inch. And I just made a mistake. So this is a good chance to show you how to edit that, right? Edit the hole. Let's change that to 3/16 of an inch. Kind of glad I did that. It gives you an opportunity to see how to fix a mistake. Don't panic, you can always undo. So undo right up in here, it's real easy. Okay, so I got 3/16 of an inch. And there's my snail cam. All right. Good luck working on these, and I'll look forward to seeing what you guys produce. Make sure that you use the Automata simulator, and there is the video to watch for that as well to show you how to merge that into the simulator. Don't forget to save your work.